Hi everybody, today we're going to be making Guard the King. Start off with a plywood base piece and put your initials and period number on that. You can use permanent marker, stamps, or a wood burner. If you choose to use the wood burner, you should know the protocol for using that, and you should have permission ahead of time. Next, you will cut some strips that are going to be the border of the game board. Make sure these pieces are not too short. We're going to sand them to the right size, but they're going to start off too long. Put your initials on all loose pieces. Cut off a short piece of wax paper to protect the workbench while you're gluing. We're using wax paper instead of newspaper so the project and the glue doesn't stick. Use the table to make sure these three pieces are flush on the bottom. Squeeze these pieces together for about a minute so they tack together while you move it to the vise. As you slowly tighten the vise on these pieces, make sure that the bottom is staying flush by checking both sides multiple times. Okay, let's bring it over to the belt sander to even those strips up with the base. If you'd like to use a miter gauge to keep all of your edges perpendicular like I am here, that's a good idea. Sand right up to the plywood base and then just graze a little bit of that plywood off. You don't want the base to be too small, but you want all these pieces to be even. And now you can repeat that process with the short strips by first gluing, making sure the bottoms are flush and even, squeezing together and to get an initial tack. Clamp them up in the vise and then bring it to the belt sander to even things out. You don't necessarily need to wait till this step in the game board to start putting together your pieces. You could be doing these two things simultaneously. You're going to need to be gluing up one square piece and 4 L pieces. As you're gluing those up, make sure that you're using the wax paper, all the faces are going to stay flush. You're using the table before you clamp, checking for evenness as you clamp, and applying vise pressure slowly so that the pieces don't shift. You can start out sanding against the grain to even those sides out as long as you touch it up with the grain at the end. I'm just using a piece of scrap metal as a scraper to get any of that wet glue out before it dries and becomes a problem. Hand sand the faces of your game pieces to remove any glue or pencil marks. Don't use the belt sander for that. It would take off way too much material. You can use the disc or the belt sander just to touch up the ends of the game pieces. Be sure to apply some sort of finish to all parts of the game. There's a particular way the game pieces should all be labeled. Make sure you're checking the plans for that. If you have a different idea you'd like to try, make sure you run it by me first. This is what the initial setup for the game looks like. The object is to get the king in the middle of those 4 guards. The pieces can only move in a horizontal or a vertical direction.